After the age of 60, something dangerous begins happening inside your body. And the scary part is, most people don't notice it until it's already too late. Your muscles slowly start disappearing. Not overnight, not in a dramatic way, but little by little, year after year. At first, the signs seem harmless. Climbing the stairs feels harder than it used to. Carrying groceries feels heavier. Getting up from a chair takes more effort. You might think, that's just part of getting older. But here's the truth many people never hear. After 60, adults can lose a significant amount of muscle strength every decade if they don't take action. And when muscle disappears, everything changes. Balance becomes weaker. Movement becomes slower. And the risk of falls, injuries, and loss of independence increases dramatically. In fact, many older adults don't lose their independence because of disease. They lose it because they lose muscle. But here's the good news. Muscle loss after 60 is not just about age. In many cases, it's driven by a few daily habits that quietly destroy muscle over time. In this video, you'll discover why muscles shrink after 60 and the simple things you can start doing today to stay strong, active, and independent, even into your 70s and 80s. After the age of 60, muscle loss rarely happens for just one reason. It usually comes from several changes inside the body that slowly begin working together. Most people think weakness appears simply because of age, but the real story is more complex than that. In fact, the process starts much earlier. Around the age of 30, the body naturally begins losing a small amount of muscle every year. At first, the change is so gradual that most people never notice it. You're still active, still working, still moving throughout the day. So the body manages to keep most of its strength. But over time, the loss slowly accumulates, year after year. And by the time people reach their 60s, the body becomes far less efficient at maintaining muscle tissue. Muscle fibers begin to shrink. The body becomes slower at repairing and rebuilding them. In some cases, parts of that lost muscle are gradually replaced with fat. That's when everyday movements start to feel different. Climbing stairs takes more effort. Carrying groceries feels heavier. Standing up from a chair may require more strength than before. And muscle isn't only about strength. It also plays a major role in balance, stability, and mobility. When muscle mass declines, the body becomes less stable, which means the risk of falls begins to increase. But aging alone is not the whole story. Another important change is happening inside the body. Hormone levels begin to decline. Hormones like testosterone and growth hormone help the body build and repair muscle tissue. When you're younger, these hormones are produced in much higher amounts. That's why the body can recover quickly after activity or exercise. But as people grow older, the body produces less of them. And when hormone levels drop, muscle recovery becomes slower. The body struggles more to maintain the same level of strength. This hormonal shift is a natural part of aging. But when combined with other factors, it can significantly accelerate muscle loss. One of the biggest factors is something very simple. People move less as they get older. Retirement often means more time sitting. Some people avoid activity because of joint discomfort. Others simply develop daily habits that involve less movement. But muscles follow a very simple rule. Use them, or lose them. When muscles are used regularly through walking, lifting, or daily activities, the body receives signals that those muscles are important, so it continues maintaining them. But when muscles are rarely used, the body begins breaking them down, because it assumes they are no longer needed. Over time, this inactivity quietly weakens the body. And finally, there is one more factor many people overlook: protein. Protein is the primary building block for muscle tissue. When we eat protein-rich foods like fish, eggs, chicken, or beans, the body breaks them down into amino acids. These amino acids are used to repair and rebuild muscle fibers. But as people age, muscles become less responsive to protein. Scientists sometimes call this anabolic resistance. In simple terms, the same diet that once maintained muscle may no longer be enough after the age of 60. When all these changes happen together, aging, lower hormones, less movement, and reduced efficiency in using protein, muscle loss can accelerate much faster than people expect. The good news is this: once you understand what's happening inside the body, you can begin making small changes that help protect muscle strength and maintain independence for many years to come. But there is another piece of the puzzle that many people completely overlook: protein. For your muscles, protein is not just another nutrient. It is the raw material your body uses to build, repair, and maintain muscle tissue. Every time you move, lift something, walk, or even stand up from a chair, tiny stress happens inside your muscle fibers. That stress is normal. In fact, it's necessary. Because after that stress happens, the body begins a repair process. And during that repair process, the body uses protein to rebuild those muscle fibers stronger than before. This process is happening constantly throughout your life. But here's the problem. After the age of 60, the body becomes less efficient at using protein for muscle repair. Scientists call this anabolic resistance. In simple terms, your muscles stop responding to protein as effectively as they once did. When you were younger, even a moderate amount of protein could easily support muscle maintenance. But as the body ages, muscles require more protein signals to trigger the same repair process, which means something important. The amount of protein that worked in your 30s or 40s may no longer be enough in your 60s or 70s. And this is where many people unknowingly make a mistake. They actually begin eating less protein as they get older. Sometimes appetite decreases. Sometimes meals become smaller. Sometimes people rely more on simple carbohydrates like bread or rice. But muscles don't rebuild themselves from carbohydrates. They rebuild themselves from amino acids, which come from protein. If the body doesn't receive enough protein, it simply cannot repair muscle tissue properly. Over time, this leads to a gradual loss of muscle strength. But here's something interesting. Research has shown that older adults often need more protein, not less. In many cases, experts recommend roughly 1.0 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day for adults over 60. That might sound complicated, but the idea is simple. Your muscles need enough protein throughout the day to stay strong. Another important factor is how protein is distributed across meals. Many people eat very little protein in the morning. Breakfast might only be coffee and toast. Lunch might be light. And then most of the protein comes during dinner. But muscles respond better when protein is spread across the entire day. Instead of one large protein meal, the body benefits from steady protein intake. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, each meal supporting muscle repair. And the type of protein also matters. High-quality protein sources contain the essential amino acids your muscles need. Some excellent examples include fish, eggs, chicken, Greek yogurt, lean meats, beans, lentils, tofu, dairy products. These foods provide the building blocks your muscles depend on. And when protein intake is combined with regular physical movement, the body receives a powerful signal. a signal that tells the body to maintain muscle tissue instead of breaking it down. This is why nutrition and activity work together. Protein provides the materials. Movement provides the signal. Without both, muscle maintenance becomes difficult. But with both, the body can continue maintaining strength even later in life. In fact, many adults in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s have successfully improved muscle strength by combining simple resistance exercises with adequate protein intake. Which means muscle loss is not always an unavoidable outcome. Sometimes it's simply the result of habits that can be adjusted. When the body receives the right nutrients and the muscles receive the right stimulation, strength can be maintained far longer than many people expect. And that's why understanding protein is one of the most powerful steps toward protecting muscle health as we age. But nutrition alone is not enough to protect your muscles. There is another signal your body absolutely needs: strength. Your muscles were designed to work. They were designed to lift, push, pull, and carry. When muscles face resistance, the body receives a message. A very important message. It says, "These muscles are needed. Keep them strong." But when muscles are rarely challenged, the opposite happens. The body begins to conserve energy. And one of the first things it reduces is muscle tissue. This is why strength training is so important after the age of 60. Not because you want to look like a bodybuilder, but because your muscles need regular reminders to stay alive and active. When muscles experience resistance, tiny signals inside the muscle fibers activate the rebuilding process. Those signals tell the body to repair and strengthen the muscle. Over time, this process can slow down muscle loss. In some cases, it can even help people regain strength they thought was gone forever. And the best part is this: strength training does not need to be complicated. You don't need heavy weights. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't even need a gym. Many simple movements can activate major muscle groups. For example, one of the most effective exercises is the chair squat. It's simple. Sit down in a chair, then stand up again without using your hands. This movement strengthens the thighs, the hips, and the core, all muscles that help support walking, balance, and daily mobility. Another simple movement is the wall push-up. Stand facing a wall. Place your hands on the wall. Then slowly bend your arms and push yourself back. This strengthens the chest, shoulders, and arms. Muscles used every day for lifting and pushing objects. Resistance bands are another excellent option. They are lightweight, inexpensive, and easy to use. With resistance bands, you can strengthen the arms, shoulders, and legs without placing stress on the joints. Even something as simple as holding light dumbbells while lifting your arms slowly can stimulate muscle activity. The key is not intensity. The key is consistency, because muscles respond best to regular signals. Most experts recommend strength training about 2 to 3 times per week. Not every day. Your muscles actually grow stronger during recovery, which means rest days are part of the process. A simple routine might look like this. One day focused on lower body strength, so use exercises like chair squats or step-ups. Another day focused on upper body strength, movements like wall push-ups or resistance band rows. Each session can be short. Even 20 to 30 minutes can make a difference. And the goal is not exhaustion. The goal is stimulation. A signal to the muscles that they are still needed. Over time, these signals accumulate. Muscle fibers begin responding. Strength slowly improves. Balance becomes steadier. Movements become easier. And perhaps most importantly, confidence begins to return. Because when people feel stronger, they move more. And when people move more, their muscles stay active. The long-term benefits of strength training are remarkable. Stronger muscles support healthier joints. They improve posture. They protect the spine. They help maintain balance. And they significantly reduce the risk of falls. But the most powerful benefit may be independence. Strong muscles allow people to continue doing the simple things that make life enjoyable. Walking comfortably, carrying groceries, standing up easily, moving with confidence. And that is exactly why strength training is one of the most powerful tools for maintaining health and independence after the age of 60. But strength training is only part of the solution. There is another habit that plays an equally important role in protecting your muscles. Daily movement. Not intense workouts, not complicated routines, just regular movement throughout the day. One of the easiest ways to keep your muscles active is simply walking. Walking is gentle on the joints. It doesn't require equipment. It doesn't require a gym. And yet it activates many important muscles in the legs, hips, and core. These are the muscles that help you walk steadily, stand up easily, and maintain balance. Even 20 to 30 minutes of walking each day can help keep these muscles engaged. Some people prefer a morning walk. Others enjoy walking after dinner. The exact time doesn't matter very much. What matters is making walking a regular daily habit. But walking is not the only way to stay active. Many simple activities throughout the day can also help stimulate muscles. Gardening, lighthouse cleaning, climbing stairs, stretching, carrying light objects, even standing up and walking around the house every hour or two can make a difference. These small movements may not feel like exercise, but they still activate muscles. And every time muscles activate, the body receives a signal. A signal that says, these muscles are still needed. Over time, these signals add up, and that's why continuous movement is so important. The human body was never designed to sit still for long periods. When the body stays inactive for too long, muscles begin to weaken. Circulation slows down. Joints can become stiff. Energy levels drop. But when movement happens regularly throughout the day, the body stays engaged. Muscles continue working. Blood circulation improves, and joints stay more flexible. Think of daily movement as small reminders you send to your body. Every step you take, every stretch you do, every time you stand and move around, you are telling your body to keep those muscles active. And over time, those small reminders help preserve strength, mobility, and independence, which is why simple daily movement is one of the most powerful habits for maintaining muscle health as we grow older. So let's quickly bring everything together. After the age of 60, muscle loss can happen faster than most people expect. But the good news is this: it's not something you have to simply accept. There are 3 simple habits that can make a powerful difference. First, make sure your body gets enough protein. Protein provides the building blocks your muscles need to repair and maintain strength. Foods like fish, eggs, beans, lean meat, and dairy can help support that process. Second, include strength training a few times each week. Your muscles need resistance to stay active and strong. Simple exercises like chair squats, wall push-ups, or resistance bands can help stimulate muscle growth and protect strength. And third, keep your body moving every day. Walking, stretching, gardening, or light activity throughout the day helps keep muscles engaged and circulation healthy. These 3 habits work together. Nutrition provides the fuel. Strength training sends the signal. Daily movement keeps the system active. Over time, These small actions can help maintain strength, improve balance, and support independence. And that means continuing to do the things you enjoy. Walking comfortably, moving confidently, and living life on your own terms. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing to the channel for more simple, science-based tips to help you stay strong and healthy as you age. And if you'd like to learn about another habit that can dramatically improve strength and longevity after 60, check out the next video appearing on your screen right now.